Hello, I'm Avi Lewis, and we're back on the map. Tomorrow, Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez heads off on one of his anti-imperialist package tours, stopping in Russia, ending in Iran. You just know the U.S. media will have yet another field day with the new axis of oil. 3 leaders living on a steady diet of high petroleum prices and anti-Americanism. Tomorrow night, we'll take a closer look at Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and the state of Iran's democracy movement. But now, let's sample the hype and hysteria surrounding Hugo Chavez. The portrait of Chavez in the U.S. media has not exactly been nuanced.
People here say the Chavez government has gone too far.
Fascism.
Venezuela's anti-American president, Hugo Chavez, is apparently trying to turn his country into a one-party dictatorship.
But in fact, Chavez is a complicated and contradictory figure. Elected in 1999, he was briefly deposed in a coup in 2002. The United States embarrassed itself by rushing to recognize the new government.
President Chavez has resigned the presidency.
And then watched as Chavez returned to power days later on the strength of massive support from the streets. He has since won another landslide election and a huge plebiscite to change the Constitution. And he's using the country's oil wealth to fund a big increase in social spending. More than 50% of Venezuelans now have free health care. And since Chavez came to power, more than 1 million people have gained basic literacy skills. On the other hand, he's constantly fueling his critics' charges of megalomania. The Congress he dominates just recently gave him the power to rule by decree in some key areas. Last month, he sparked energetic opposition protests when he decided not to renew the license of a hostile private TV station. And he tests the patience of his allies with his rhetorical excess, like his famous comment about the whiff of sulfur following Bush at the podium of the UN General Assembly. Good political entertainment, and maybe because of that, the talk about Chavez often stays on the theatrical surface. In fact, there's a profound shift underway in Latin America, and Chavez is at the heart of it. So for a very un-Fox News conversation, I'm joined now by 2 compulsive Chavez-watchers. Jennifer McCoy is director of the Americas program at the Carter Center in Atlanta. And Mark Weisbrot is with the Center for Economic and Policy Research. He's in Washington. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Avi.
Hi, Jennifer. Welcome to On the Map.
Thanks, Avi.
So, Jennifer, he's called George Bush the devil, and that's actually mild language compared to what he uses to describe his domestic opposition in Venezuela. Chavez is a colorful character. So what?
Well, he loves to be confrontational. That's true. But it does matter because, 1, he has alienated people because of it, but 2, it also has political consumption. And so when he talks about the United States as the devil and the evil one and George Bush, that can help to generate his political supporters at home, but also create more tensions with the United States and the United States Congress as well as the executive branch.
Mark, Chavez is great at the confrontational thing and keeping himself in the headlines. Is it good for Venezuelans?
I think you have to keep in mind that the reason he says these things is because the United States supported a military coup against his government in April of 2002 and was involved in various ways, and also has supported various efforts to destabilize and delegitimize and otherwise get rid of his government since then.
Chavez asked for and received from his Congress the power to rule by decree for 18 months. How are we to read that? It was played in the United States as another totalitarian move.
What makes me uncomfortable is that it concentrates power to an extraordinary degree in the president, in one man, in terms of the range of things that he can decree power on, and including he's now introducing constitutional reforms.
It isn't really a big transfer of power or authority. What it is it enables him to get some things done faster. My guess is that that's why he did it, because sometimes the legislative process is cumbersome.
Let's talk about the decision not to review the license of RCTV. Cable news was wallpapered with anti-Chavez protests in the United States. Lou Dobbs, who I think of as sort of the thought bubble over America's subconscious come to life, said that Chavez was turning his country into a one-party dictatorship. Tucker Carlson called it fascism. Jennifer, what do you call it when he refuses to renew the license of a private TV station?
Well, I can understand his political reasons, and that the private media in Venezuela have in the past played a political role and a very strong opposition role in really entering into the political arena, and that is a large part of his gripe against them. However, Venezuela needs plurality of information. It needs a place for people, for different voices to be expressed. And so not renewing this concession removes one of the prime areas for people to express dissidence and a different opinion.
Well, this is a good example of how the media reporting was quite ridiculous. This is a station that would not get a broadcast license, I think Jennifer will agree with me, anywhere in the world. They participated in the military coup. And I was there in 2002 when they were calling on people to come out in the streets and topple the government again as part of an oil strike. So I don't really see why.
Let's talk about the real issue in terms of evaluating the long-term impact of Chavez in Venezuela. Here are a couple of stats. Last year, the state oil company spent more than $3.7 billion on social, agricultural, and housing programs. Half the population now has free health care. There's a hugely popular program of subsidized food. It sounds like, when you look at the actual data, that Chavez is redistributing the oil wealth of the country to the poor. The question is that true? Is it, and is it sustainable over the long term?
Well, this is the big question. It's very hard to get statistics. The statistics are debated as well, and so it's hard to know exactly. Certainly,
those stats were all taken from the BBC and Bloomberg News, by the way, which I didn't think were really Chavista outlets.
Definitely. His main contribution has been to give the poor hope and to feel that they are finally represented in that country. That has been his genius, his ability to communicate with people and to give them hope.
Oh, okay. Hold on, Jennifer. But he's not. People aren't eating hope in Venezuela.
Exactly.
Right. People are eating food, and the food is subsidized by the government. And there's a huge proportion of the population still living on less than $2 a day. So it's more than hope. It's more concrete than that.
Yes, and but the amazing thing is that he had maintained support even while not delivering to the people. It's really been in the last 2 to 3 years with the oil boom that he's been able to begin to really distribute these programs.
There's one last thing I need to touch on. At the end of this week, we'll see new pictures of Chavez in Iran embracing his buddy Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the president, in their 5th highly public meeting in 1 year. Mark, you're a defender of Chavez and his economic record. How do you actually feel when you see pictures of him embracing another anti-imperialist, but also a man at the head of an enormously repressive regime?
In terms of his relationship with Ahmadinejad, clearly that's considered a problem here in the United States and in terms of U.S. Politics. But, the United States and most other countries have friendly relations with all kinds of governments. And so I don't really see why this should be a major issue. It's not like he's propping up the Iranian government.
Jennifer, last word.
Well, he certainly has made friends with a lot of people who are unfriendly towards the United States, and that's part of his larger foreign policy goal of trying to counter the power of the United States in the world. But it does not engender much confidence within the United States to see the kinds of countries that he's chosen for some of his friendships.
Jennifer, Mark, thanks for being on the map.
Thank you,
Thank you.
After the break, from anti-Chavez chauvinism to lefty Latin envy, the hype, rhetoric, and reality of Latin America's new politics.